What happens when you give your wife one night to do whatever they want?
Once a year, my wife takes off her wedding ring. It's a simple act, but it carries a weight of tradition and unspoken rules. This night is different from any other. It's the one night my wife and I step outside the bounds of our marriage and leaves the house, dressed to the nines with a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. Emily and I had been married for 15 years. Our marriage was solid, built on mutual respect and understanding. However, 5 years ago, Emily came to me with a surprising request. She wanted to be able to take off her wedding ring once a year and spend the night however she pleased. I was taken aback, but after much thought, I accepted her request. Every year since then, on the appointed night, Emily would dress up and leave, and I would stay home. The house would feel eerily quiet without her. I tried to distract myself by watching TV, but my mind would keep wandering. I would pour myself a glass of whiskey, hoping it would calm my nerves. My thoughts were a whirlwind of jealousy, curiosity, and longing. What was she doing right now? Was she thinking about me? The images in my mind were both torturous and thrilling. I would decide to go for a walk to clear my head, but the silence of the empty streets only amplified my thoughts. Now, it was the 6th year of our ritual. I stood by the dresser, watching Emily as she prepared for her night. She was radiant, dressed in a sleek black dress that hugged her curves. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, my voice wavering. She smiled gently and kissed me on the cheek. "Yes, I am. Are you?" I nodded, though my heart felt heavy. Watching her leave was always the hardest part. As she walked out the door, I felt a pang of jealousy and longing. I knew she would be with someone else tonight, and I had to accept it. Trying to distract myself, I turned on the TV, but my mind kept wandering. I poured another glass of whiskey, hoping to calm my nerves. My emotions were a mix of envy, curiosity, and apprehension. As I surfed the internet on my phone, an ad popped up, prompting me to download Tinder. On a whim, I did, setting up a quick profile and swiping through women whose bios read, "Here for a good time, not for a long time." Bored and thinking nothing would come of it, I poured another drink and grabbed some snacks. I put on a film, and just as I was getting comfortable, my phone started lighting up. It was a message from a blonde woman who looked 10 years younger than me. She wrote, "Want to hook up?" I couldn't believe it, thinking maybe the drink had impaired my vision, but it definitely said that. So I replied, "Yes, where do you want to meet?" She told me to book a hotel, so I ordered an Uber and went to the hotel. Before heading out, I hesitated for a moment and then decided to take off my wedding ring for the first time in 15 years. When I arrived at the hotel, my nerves were on edge. I walked into the lobby, the dim lighting and quiet atmosphere amplifying my anticipation. I spotted her immediately, a striking blonde woman in a red dress that clung to her figure. She looked even more stunning in person. She smiled as she saw me, her eyes filled with a playful glint. "Hi," she said, her voice smooth and inviting. "I'm Jessica." "Hi, Jessica, I'm Mark," I replied, my voice shaky with a mix of excitement and nervousness. We made our way to the room, and the tension between us was palpable. As soon as the door closed behind us, Jessica wasted no time. She pulled me towards her, her lips meeting mine in a passionate kiss. Her hands roamed my body, and I felt an electric charge with every touch. We stumbled towards the bed, shedding our clothes in a frenzy. Jessica's skin was soft and warm, her movements confident and eager. She pushed me onto the bed and straddled me, her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my heart race. "Let's make this a night to remember," she whispered, her breath hot against my ear. Jessica's touch was both gentle and demanding. She moved with a grace and sensuality that left me breathless. Every kiss, every caress was a revelation, a stark contrast to the routine I had grown accustomed to. She seemed to know exactly how to push my buttons, making me feel things I hadn't felt in years. We spent hours exploring each other's bodies, lost in a haze of passion and desire. The way she moved, the sounds she made, everything about her drove me wild. It was as if she had unlocked a part of me that I had forgotten existed. For that night, all my worries and doubts vanished. There was only Jessica and the incredible connection we shared. As dawn approached, we lay tangled in the sheets, our bodies exhausted, but our spirits soaring. Jessica looked at me, her eyes soft and satisfied. "Thank you for tonight, Mark," she said, her voice filled with genuine warmth. It was amazing. "Thank you, Jessica," I replied, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and melancholy. It really was. We shared one last kiss before I got dressed and left the hotel. As I stepped outside into the crisp morning air, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. I had crossed a line, experienced something I never thought I would, and it had changed me. The Uber ride home was quiet, my mind racing with thoughts of the night and what it meant for my marriage. Emily's perspective.
I stood by the dresser, my fingers trembling slightly as I removed my wedding ring. It felt strange, almost sacrilegious to take it off, but it was part of the ritual. I placed it on the dresser and turned to look at myself in the mirror. I was dressed in a sleek black dress that hugged my curves. My eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Are you sure about this?" my husband asked, his voice wavering. I smiled gently and kissed him on the cheek. "Yes, I am. Are you?" He nodded, though I could see the heaviness in his eyes. Watching him as I walked out the door, I felt a mix of excitement and guilt. I knew he would be thinking about me, wondering what I was doing, but this was our agreement. The thrill of the night ahead consumed me as I drove to meet my lover. Each year, the anticipation and excitement never waned. The freedom, the passion, and the escape from routine were intoxicating. I met Jason, my lover for the night, at a cozy, dimly lit bar. He was charming, and we shared drinks and laughter. The chemistry between us was undeniable, and soon we were back at his place. The night was a whirlwind of passion and intensity. Jason was attentive and skilled, making me feel desired and alive in ways I hadn't felt in years. We explored each other's bodies with a fervor that only heightened the excitement. The hours flew by in a blur of pleasure, and by the time dawn approached, I was exhausted, but exhilarated. As I returned home, a wave of relief washed over me. The night had been thrilling, but nothing compared to the comfort of being with my husband. I called out for him when I returned, but he was nowhere to be seen, and he wasn't answering his phone. There was just a cup and a whiskey bottle out, so I thought maybe he had gone for a walk. I went into the bedroom to take a shower in the ensuite, and noticed his wedding ring on the dresser. He never took off his wedding ring when I took mine off once a year. "That's strange," I thought. A few hours later, he walked back into the house, and I was waiting for him, looking both relieved and curious. "Where have you been?" I asked, a hint of concern in my voice. He couldn't help but grin as he told me about his crazy night. The words tumbled out of his mouth, and I felt my expression change from curiosity to shock. Mark's perspective.
When I got home, Emily was waiting for me, looking both relieved and curious. "Where have you been?" she asked, a hint of concern in her voice. I couldn't help but grin as I told her about my crazy night. The words tumbled out of my mouth, and I saw her expression change from curiosity to shock. She started yelling and crying. "We never discussed you doing this. Only me. Why didn't you talk to me? You've been happy to let me go and do this for the last 5 years, and you said you were never interested in doing it yourself. What's changed?" I was taken aback by her reaction. "Emily, how can you act like this after you've been doing this for the last 5 years? I thought you would understand. I find it so selfish that you can't see my side of things." Emily's face crumpled with hurt, and she accused me of cheating on her. "You never wanted to try it yourself. You've always known what I was doing, and you were fine with it. Now suddenly you go and do this without even talking to me." I realized too late that our unconventional arrangement had led us to a complicated and painful place. We stood there, the weight of our decisions pressing down on us, both struggling to understand how something that was meant to bring excitement and freedom had brought us to this moment of raw emotion and misunderstanding. For weeks, Emily and I barely spoke. The silence between us was deafening, each day stretching the distance between us. But then, one evening, she finally broke the silence. "Mark, I've been thinking a lot," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I understand what happened and why it happened, but I think if we're going to continue this, we need to do it together." I looked at her, confusion and curiosity evident on my face. "What do you mean, Emily?" She took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. "I think we should try going to swingers clubs together. Explore this side of our desires as a couple, not just separately." I was stunned. The idea of sharing these experiences with Emily was both intriguing and terrifying. But there was something in her eyes that told me she had thought this through. She wanted to bridge the gap that had grown between us, to turn what had become a source of pain into something we could share. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," she replied firmly. "I want us to do this together. I want us to find that excitement and connection again, but I want to do it with you by my side." As we talked late into the night, laying out our hopes and fears, I realized that this new path might just be what we needed. It was unconventional, yes, but so was the life we had been living for the past 5 years. Maybe this was the way to rekindle the bond that had once made our marriage unbreakable. We decided to take it slow, to communicate openly and honestly every step of the way. The next few weeks were filled with research and tentative steps into the world of swingers clubs. We attended a few events, always together, always checking in with each other to make sure we were both comfortable and happy. Our first real experience at a club was nerve-wracking but exhilarating. The club was a luxurious and discreet venue, hidden behind an unassuming facade. Inside, the atmosphere was both elegant and inviting. Soft lighting cast a warm glow over the plush furnishings, and the air was filled with the hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses. Couples and singles mingled, some dressed in glamorous evening wear, others in more revealing attire, each person exuding a sense of confidence and excitement. As we entered, we were greeted by a hostess who welcomed us and gave us a brief tour of the club. There were several rooms, each designed to cater to different tastes and preferences. One room featured a dance floor with a DJ playing sensual music, while another had a bar area where people could sit and chat. There were also more intimate spaces, including private rooms and open play areas equipped with comfortable seating and soft, inviting beds. Emily and I found a spot near the bar and ordered drinks, trying to calm our nerves. We watched as couples interacted, some engaging in playful flirting, others moving to the dance floor or disappearing into the private rooms. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and desire, and I could feel the excitement building within me. After a while, a friendly couple approached us and struck up a conversation. They introduced themselves as Sarah and James and shared their own experiences with the club. Their openness and warmth put us at ease, and soon we were laughing and chatting like old friends. They invited us to join them in one of the play areas, and with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, we agreed. The play area was a dimly lit room with plush couches and beds draped in soft fabrics. People were engaged in various activities, some kissing and touching, others fully immersed in more intimate acts. The atmosphere was one of mutual respect and consent, with everyone seemingly focused on their own pleasure while remaining aware of those around them. Emily and I settled on one of the couches, and Sarah and James joined us. We started with light touches and kisses, gradually becoming more comfortable and adventurous. The sight of Emily with another man was both thrilling and arousing, and I could see the same excitement in her eyes as she watched me with Sarah. As the night progressed, we explored each other's bodies, guided by the unspoken understanding that we were there to enjoy and respect each other's boundaries. The experience was exhilarating, a blend of new sensations and emotions that deepened our connection and trust. By the time we left the club, we were both exhausted but content. The evening had been an adventure, a step into the unknown that had brought us closer together. In the weeks that followed, Emily and I continued to explore the world of swingers clubs, each experience strengthening our bond and deepening our understanding of each other. The jealousy and resentment that had once plagued our relationship began to fade, replaced by a renewed sense of partnership and intimacy. One night, after a particularly thrilling evening at the club, we lay in bed, exhausted but content. Emily turned to me, her eyes shining with happiness. "Thank you, Mark," she said softly, "for being willing to try this with me, for understanding." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. "Thank you, Emily, for being honest with me, for pushing us to find a way to make this work. I love you." "I love you too," she replied, snuggling closer. In the end, what had started as a potentially devastating moment in our marriage became the catalyst for a deeper, more honest connection. We had taken an unconventional path, but it was our path, and it had brought us back to each other, stronger and more in love than ever before.
If you reached the end of the story, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.